Okay, how is the Central Division going to look? Who's at the top and who's down at the bottom? Kirsten and I take a look in this week's episode of Bar Down Beauties. As always, we're created by New Boy Studios, brought to you by Soda Stick, presented by Talk North, Jim Beam, Livia, Grainbelt, and Royal Credit Union. This is Season 5, Episode 240. At Jim Beam, they know the importance of tradition, like chanting, "Let's play hockey" prior to the start of each game, or playing the State of Hockey anthem after a wild win. This season, raise one to your fan family with a bourbon that invites us all to come as friends and leave as family. Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey, the official bourbon whiskey partner of the Minnesota Wild and XL Energy Center. Drink smart. Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2021. James B. Beam Distilling Company, Incorporated, Claremont, Kentucky. Hello, everybody. What's up? We're back. Bar Down Beauties, episode 240. I'm Jessie Pierce, writer for NHL.com, golf extraordinaire, if you will. Somebody that's been out on the golf course way too much lately, and I need a smidge of a break. We'll get into that. Kirsten Kroll, in arena host, entertainment correspondent, also fantastic golf companion. What's going on, Kirsten? How are we on this lovely Monday morning?
The vibes are high this morning, except I did the most unfortunate thing,
Mm.
which, I might thank myself for later.
Mm.
I did not put enough coffee grounds in my coffee. So, I'm literally drinking watered down bean juice right now, is what it feels like. There's not nearly enough grounds. And I've never done that before.
That sounds really gross.
See, but I already put my collagen in it. So I'm committed. I have to finish this cup.
I do understand that. See, I suppose if I were to drink coffee, which I did not have my first cup of coffee, officially until maybe 2 years ago. And it wasn't even a cup of coffee. I've never had hot coffee. I've had a sip of hot coffee. I've never had hot coffee. I'm a cold brew girl through and through, negative 20 degrees out. I don't care. But even then, I've stopped doing that, except I'll make one at home. But it has to be the cold brew, and it's only so I can put my collagen and my protein in.
That's fair.
Right?
I've always loved bitter. Give me a bitter red wine. Give me bitter coffee. I love it.
I mean, I don't even enjoy the smell of a coffee shop. I hate leaving and being like, ew, I stink. Or
what's wrong with you?
I
Who
don't know.
hates the smell of coffee? My mom hates coffee, but she loves the smell.
No, I don't like it.
So weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And my mom always drank coffee. I was around it enough. And we'd go to coffee shops, obviously, as kids. And I'd get the smoothies and whatever. As kids, I mean, high school, right? Yeah, I don't know. I've never needed the energy really either. I'll do energy drinks once in a while, but I've just always kind of been a morning peppy person. That might surprise a lot of people. High energy. I couldn't live my life if I didn't have high energy.
I need the coffee morning boost.
Yeah, no, don't need it. It's just get some sleep, drink some water. This is my life tips for you as you once you get into your 30s, you'll recognize those things are vital.
See, I love my sleep. I take full advantage of my sleep. I get a solid 8 to 9 hours every single night, but I still need just a little something, something in the morning. It's not even so much for me that I'm tired in the morning. It's a matter of once I get going for the day, I'm good. I'm awake. I'm up. It's more I just need that extra push to get out of bed.
Speaking of sleep, this week I want to talk about Central Division teams, aka the Minnesota Wild opponents, teams that we might be sleeping on in the Central. Let's start there before we dive into to the good teams. Out of the Dallas Stars, the Winnipeg Jets, the Colorado Avalanche, the Nashville Predators, the St. Louis Blues, the Minnesota Wild, Arizona, or not the Arizona Coyotes. Oh my gosh, I was just about to include them, but they are no longer a thing.
Rip.
That's weird. That's weird. Isn't it?
A little bit. Also, I was wondering why you cut off my sleep discussion, and I realized you just wanted a really good segue.
Such a good segue, though, wasn't it?
You're welcome.
So yeah,
I tee you up for all of these. You're welcome.
Chicago Blackhawks are the other team. I miss right? Because Utah's not. They're in the Pacific. Right?
I don't know.
It's
only 10:05 on a Monday morning. I'm awake, but I'm not.
No, Utah is in the Central. They're taking the spot, literally just taking the full-fledged spot of the Arizona Coyotes. I swear, for any new listeners we might have, we know hockey. I promise you that. Don't let this deter you. Don't turn us off. Our longtime viewers know this. I've, yeah, Utah Hockey Club. Are we sleeping on? I'm going to sleep on the Utah Hockey Club.
I'm not going to sleep on the Utah Hockey Club. And I'm trying to think of how to describe this. I just don't think there's any expectations, period. So there's nothing to sleep on.
I mean, it's different because they're an expansion by way of relocation, right? So it's not the
Mhm.
expansion that we have recently seen with Seattle and with Las Vegas. Like they had their team built in. I had no expectations for the Arizona Coyotes, right? Like, so I kind of feel like that just translates, you're right, to um Utah in exchange then, I guess, right?
Exactly. That's my thoughts on
Do
that.
you think that they finish like bottom? I mean, since there are no expectations, or do you think they're going to come out and surprise everybody, right? I think it's always better personally. I go back and forth. It's nice to have a target on your back and be known as the number one because everyone's gunning for you. You have, you're going to make sure you have your A game every single night. But I love a no expectations Cinderella story because it's like, well, if we don't do well, that pressure's gone. It's fine. I mean, I think it doesn't make you less competitive by any
Hmm.
sense, but I don't know. It'd be interesting. I kind of like where Utah's exit is. There's no expectations. I mean, last year the Coyotes finished seventh in the Central, obviously missed the playoffs, won 36 games as a whole. They have added John Marino on defense and Mikhail Sergachev at defense as well. Otherwise, they're kind of bringing back the same number of guys, which includes Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz. What do you hear that?
No. What happened?
I don't know. I hear music and I'm not sure where
What?
it's coming.
I don't hear any music. Are you okay?
A video played on
Oh,
my computer
I
that I
did
was
not hear
unaware of.
that at
That's
all.
good. I
Maybe the
apologize.
podcast is haunted. I
It
like that
felt like
idea.
it.
Let's say that now.
You
Let's say
would.
that. I would. I'm
Um,
so in Halloween mode right now. It's not even funny. I bought Halloween decorations. I'm looking at a new Halloween blanket I bought yesterday.
I know.
Like
I
I'm
mean,
so in October right now.
maybe Utah's gonna be scary good.
Boo.
So good. No, the players that they have returning, obviously, Lawson Krause, Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Dylan Gunther, Logan Cooley, Nick Bukestad, um, Ian Cole,
Oh,
Connor
what?
Ingram. Yeah, Ian Cole's apparently a
He's
Utah Hockey Club.
everywhere. That man has bounced around everywhere.
Sounds like a problem. Josh Doan, Shane Doan's kid. Big year for him. So I don't know. I mean, you look at that roster and you're kind of like, meh, meh. You're right. So I guess you're right. Sleeper, probably not
I think they're
appropriate.
going to do exactly what they did last year. I think they're going to come out of the gate hot to where people are going to be like, oh, the Utah Hockey Club. But they're going to do
Right.
exactly what they did as the Arizona Coyotes. They're going to get a handful of wins under their belt early on, make it appear like they're on a hot streak. Then they're just going to completely fall off the map. That's my prediction.
It's aggressive. Yeah, I see them being very middling. I mean, their defense, Addy Marino is huge. I think that's going to be their biggest buoy without question. Um, but they need people to score goals. Logan Cooley, fun to watch, but he's still a baby, and Nick Bukestad
We
is
love
kind of
Bugie.
we do love us some Bugie. Um, yeah, I don't know. So I not think we can't call them a sleeper. Do you think they're going to be the worst in the Central? Are they bottom? Let's start from the bottom up. Are they our bottom finishing team, or Chicago our bottom team?
I think they're the bottom.
Okay, fair.
Chicago, I feel like maybe they're going to slowly start to dig themselves out of the trenches they have been in the last few seasons, which is just being awful.
I mean, they've become a destination because you have a Connor Bedard, right? Like I
Hmm.
think Tyler Bertuzzi is now with them. He signed a 4-year, $22 million contract. Teuvo Teravainen signed a 3-year, $16.2 million contract. Obviously, they want to play with Connor Bedard. And Chicago, despite their downfall from legendary status due to all the off ice stuff, it's still an original six team, right? So I think
Hmm.
that's going to be who they also have that Michigan State defenseman, right? Didn't he sign there? No.
It's been a long off season.
I believe I
I
think
need
yeah,
to,
Levishnov or whatever, right?
yeah, I'm going to say
Yeah,
yeah. And then
he did.
after this
Yeah.
episode, I'm going to go to NHL.com and read some stories and just really get caught up on what I've missed out on the last couple of months as I have completely tuned everything out.
Constant great content on NHL.com. There'll be a Minnesota Wild 32 for 32 coming up with 3 great stories by yours truly. I think that releases on like the 17th. So what's that, Thursday?
Shameless plug. Can we get that as
Shameless
a
plug.
soundbite? Shameless
Yeah. Yeah.
plug.
I mean, it's not even shameless at this point, right? Like, it's just a plug. Like, go read my stuff, man.
No, I think it's a shameless plug still because you don't
Okay.
carry shame about it and you
True.
continue to
It's true.
plug. So it's a shameless plug.
Fair. Chicago finished with just 23 wins last season, eighth in the Central Division. So you pick them ahead of Utah, huh? I still think,
I do.
yeah, their goaltending situation, I think, is my only curious because I believe you've got Mrazek, which I don't know why he's still playing. Seems different, but I like the Tyler Bertuzzi. I like Tyler Bertuzzi. I think he's a very good player,
Hmm.
and TiVo is also very good. And then obviously Connor Bedard. So yeah, no, I
I'm not
think
saying they're going to be good, but I think they're going to just,
they'll finish seventh.
unfortunate for us and everybody else in the Central, they're going to continue to slowly get better and better. And you
I mean,
can't
that's
get
true.
worse than you did last season for Chicago.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, they finished 32nd in the NHL in goals scored per game with just a little over two, 29th in goals allowed, which 3.52. So those numbers can only be improved upon. You're right. I think, yeah, I don't know that relocating your team and all of a sudden living in a new city and having a whole new go at it mentally affects you, but for some reason I think it might, right? Like a move is a big life-changing event. You got moves, jobs, and like marriage and kids. Those are like your three
Hmm.
life-altering moments. And so I think the team moving will, yes, maybe knock Arizona down a peg and the Blackhawks are going to bounce back up.
Well, yeah, just trying to make assumptions, getting into the mind of an athlete. Realistically speaking, when they found out they were officially relocating, you got to find a house. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
find schools for your kids, familiar with the area. Like there's a lot of things to take into consideration that has honestly been a distraction probably for you in the off season, which understandably is a distraction because that takes priority over anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. So right now we have Utah finishing eighth in the Central, Chicago finishing seventh. Kirsten, who is your pick to finish sixth in the Central Division?
Winnipeg.
Ooh, all right. That's a mighty fall for the Winnipeg Jets. Break
Hmm.
it down for me. What do we think? Why do we think Winnipeg's on shaky ground? I don't totally disagree with you.
Yeah.
Little low for my taste, but I'd love to hear your perspective.
Well, I think part of it is I think the Central's just continuously getting even tougher. And you look at the teams, there's some really, really, really great teams in the Central where things sit right now. I would put them all above Winnipeg. I feel Winnipeg, the expectations were high. They played hot most of the season, and they didn't fall off towards the end of the year, but definitely you could see that decline for Winnipeg. Just some
Sure.
changes that have been made for them this offseason. I just don't think they sit as high as they did last year.
Winnipeg has been curious. We've talked about that before, right? Like Winnipeg made some moves. They've got a new coach, a whole new regime coming off a really good year last year, right? They did really well under Rick Bowness. And even with some of those big changes, like not having a Blake Wheeler, who was a long time Jet, even going back to the Atlanta Thrasher days, right? I, they're very curious to me. I think
Hmm.
six is a little low. Um, they've still got really good goaltending, obviously, with Connor Hellebuyck. Capo Kakinen jumps
Yeah.
on in the mix, which is interesting. Um, and they didn't lose a lot. You don't have Nate Schmidt, you buy him out.
Hmm.
You don't have Brandon Dillon, Tyler Toffoli. I don't know. They're curious. I'm not saying they're much higher than six. I just don't put them
I think there's
at
just a lot of unknowns. They're
100%.
either at 6 or 5. The only other team I would swap out is St. Louis.
Right. See, and I'm gonna go great transition, great segue. I'm going St. Louis at six.
Hmm.
I
I
think
agree.
yeah,
Or
I will
I don't
need
know.
to.
It's that or Winnipeg. It flip flops. You can make an
Okay, that's
argument for
fair.
both, in my opinion.
That's fair. Do you think Ryan Suter succeeds in St. Louis? Because let's not forget Ryan Suter, who was bought out by the Dallas Stars, had signed a 1-year contract on July 10th with the St. Louis Blues because he just loves hanging around. They also brought Radek Faksa in from Dallas. So I mean, they made that those are two huge pieces, I think. But how do you think Suter fares with the St. Louis Blues?
I respectfully think he might slowly be riding off into the sunset.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I were him, I would have done that after Dallas. I get you're still chasing it. I don't think St. Louis is the team to chase it. St.
No.
Louis also loses Marco Scandella, so Ryan Suter taking that spot. Kevin Hayes was traded to the Penguins. Um, St. Louis is still another weird anomaly. You're right. I think them and Winnipeg could be interchangeable for sure.
I also too, I think St. Louis will continue to also fall. I think they're really in that rebuilding period, and it's going to take longer for them to climb back up to the top of the Central.
They finished fifth in the Central last year, missed the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, as you guys all recall, they were battling it out with Minnesota, but they also inevitably missed that second wild card spot. 43, 33, and 6 last season. Um, yeah, I mean, you still got crazy nut job Jordan Binnington in there who performs well. Torrey Krug, Justin Falk on defense too.
But also, how old is Binnington?
You know, he's younger than me, I think, but not by much.
Okay.
Not by much, because I'm very young, not born in the 70s, like some people have maybe confusingly thought.
She's not happy about that.
Weird. That's I was barely born in the 80s. Like I am barely an 80s kid. Like if I look at my adolescence, 2000s are where I really grew up. Like the 90s I was young and, late 90s definitely when boy bands came around, but I wouldn't consider myself really necessarily a full-on 90s baby. I still think 2000s was when I really became my own. 98 maybe.
Okay.
99,
That's fair.
right? Which was not very long ago, in case you guys don't know. I just, yeah. My friend and I were talking about that. Like, how have we been graduated high school for this long? Like, I thought 2006 was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe.
I'm about to come upon my 10-year high school class reunion in 2025.
That one I could have skipped. I organized it at the same time I was planning my wedding, so that's how gung ho I am. I got sucked into it because I was like, sure, I'll do that because why not? I am planning a wedding that's happening less than a month after this reunion. That one I made very strong efforts in my planning so people didn't have like that weird small talk of, so what are you doing? What's your job? Because like tenure, it feels like you're still at that point of where you're trying to like impress everybody a little bit, right? Which I don't like. Like, I don't know. How big was your graduating class?
It was like around 450, I think.
So that's bigger than mine. Like mine was only two something. So it's like I wanted to eliminate as much coffee talk as possible. Like I really wanted people to just like hang out and have something. So I would do like little posts each day. Like I'd have people send in their updates on their life and I would just post that so then people could have conversations when they met each other. Like, oh, I saw that you're doing this. What's that all about?
I'm taking notes to pass along to my friend who is student body president who has to plan.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I'll pass that along. That's a cool little idea.
People really seem to enjoy that. And like, because yeah, people got into it. Like, yeah, I know, here's what's going on with me since then. And I don't know, just some easy way around it. But yeah, I would put the St. Louis Blues in the yearbook as not making the playoffs again this year. Most likely to not make the playoffs.
Agreed.
So we're interchanging Winnipeg and St. Louis as your number 6. Kirsten, number 5 in the Central Division. Who's your pick?
Oh, wait, I thought we were moving to number 4 because I said St. Louis or Winnipeg interchangeable.
Is that what? Yeah, you're right. You're right. 5 and 6. Okay, you're right.
So I stand by Winnipeg at 6, St. Louis at 5. Okay. That brings us to number 4.
Number 4.
It's my wishful thinking coming back again.
I know what you're going to say.
It's Minnesota.
That's absurd. Oh, it's Minnesota. Okay.
Well, who did you think I was going to say?
Dallas.
Do you think that was? No.
Just to say Dallas. I just thought you were
No, I would have
Dallas
said that just to spite
Dallas.
you, but that's really not what I feel. And also that would mean I have to put Minnesota higher up. And I'm already being generous with their ranking.
True.
I'm not insane. I'm trying to stay realistic. Minnesota, I think this year, pending we do not get as injury ridden as we were last year. We do not have that bad luck. Maybe stay consistent a little bit more. Don't go on major losing skids, especially at the start of the year. Secondary scoring, we do those things. Give a little bit of help in front of the net to our goalies. Philip Gustafson maybe have a stronger, more consistent year. And then I think Minnesota, 4th spot, wild card, baby.
Wow. Okay. All right. They finished sixth in the Central, so that's a two-spot bump for your Minnesota Wild. They obviously missed the playoffs again, 39, 34, and 9. You're right. They're fully healthy. So that's in itself huge. You get Jared Spurgeon back in that top pair. Marcus Foligno is going to be back in full force. Freddie Gaudreau hopefully has a bounce back year. Hartman has a bounce back year. Johansson, as you're always pointing out, contract year. I'll do it at 4 too.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I'm between I'm between 4 and 5, I'll be honest, but it's tough because yeah, it's muddled. I think Winnipeg, St. Louis, and Minnesota are kind of all in the same place,
Well,
right?
and
Like they're
that's
kind
look
of
at where it was last season when even the Wild had a chance to squeak into the playoffs. Look at the teams they were battling with within just a handful of points at one
yeah,
point. St. Louis was one of the teams they were in
right.
contention with. St.
I
Louis
do
isn't better on paper than Minnesota.
see the only thing on paper, I think Winnipeg is better than Minnesota. A little bit.
Mm, I think an
But again, that's
argument can be
because
made.
their goaltending is strong. I mean, you have Connor Hellebuyck, and you're guaranteed, hoping that he's fully healthy. I don't have the confidence in Capo Kakinen, but I think that's a very easy 1 and 2 situation. Whereas in Minnesota, there's the goalie situation that I'm not sure about. Now, on the other side, then the counter to that is, but your defense is solid this year, right? Like
You get
that's
Spurge back.
you get Spurge back with Middleton, and then you have Brock and Broads, and then Declan Chisholm and Zach Bogosian. So I mean, I like that. Like I don't hate that. So maybe your goaltending, can be a little shaky at times.
And if Gus has a consistent year this year,
Or again, as I've continuously mentioned, and I could see it happening, is do you carry 3 goaltenders?
mm-hmm.
Do you get Jesper a couple games? I'm not saying Jesper takes on a big load, but maybe 7, 8, 9 games, right? Like, I don't know. I think he needs to take that next step. Now, you don't want him sitting on the bench the entire time either, but it'd be very curious. Yeah. Because then if I'm in my mindset, then I would actually have Winnipeg up higher too. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But confirm, are they making the playoffs? Slipping
Wild
into a wild
card. I
card?
feel more confident heading into this season than I did last year.
The
So
last
wild
wild
card.
card spot. Okay. All right. Very interesting. That seems fair. What's your biggest concern for the Minnesota Wild heading into this year, and what is the highlight of the team? Like, where is your confident? I'm most confident in XYZ.
My concerns, there's two parts of it.
Hmm.
Maybe even three. I have three concerns. One are injuries. Like, yes, we are coming in fully healthy this year, but we saw how fast that would go downhill
Right.
last year for us. So that concerns me. Kind of coinciding with that, we have a lot of older players on our team. They play
Yes.
hard. That's the style of hockey that they've been accustomed to. The style of play Bill Guerin has seemingly liked to pick out of players. Because of that, I feel, and with just getting older, that also causes more injuries. So that kind of coincides. Those are two concerns.
Hmm.
And then the other one, what was my other one? I don't know if I was going to say goaltending or defense. So we'll just stick with my first two concerns.
Yeah. No, I think I mean, injuries are always a concern, especially as you have an aging roster. My biggest concern, and you had pointed it out, and I know we've talked at length about it before on this podcast and at live shows and everything like that. It's the lack of scoring depth. I just don't have enough faith in the offense to put up the points and the numbers that they absolutely need to in order to be competitive with your Colorados, with even your Nashvilles. We'll get to them in the second segment, or or with the Dallases of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You need to score more goals. And I still go back to John Hynes candidly admitting during free agency that they only have maybe 5 top scorers, not 6 in your top 6. So that's frustrating. And again, you're needing to have big years from people, but then you can't make any moves. So that's my biggest concern. Goaltending would be my second concern. Defense, I'm feeling okay with. I'm hoping, and I actually feel good about special teams this year. There were some struggles on the PK last year. It was a big weak point, but I think Yakov Trenin might help out in that situation. Marat, who's D enough, will help. And I think they're going to play around more with Brock Faber and Matt Boldy taking on bigger roles on both the PK and the PP. So I think that could be promising. But my biggest concern, yeah, is the offensive challenges that are likely to be continuously faced. Before we hop into our top three. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Let's welcome Livia to the podium. How's that for an Olympic spin? Jessie Pierce of Bar Down Beauties here to share some big and exciting news. That's right, Livia, my favorite weight loss control center, has now been named Minnesota's best weight loss control center for the fourth year in a row. That's gold. 4 years running. There's so many reasons why Livia is deserving of this, and I can speak to it for myself personally. Nearly 40 pounds down, and I've been able to keep it off thanks to the one-on-one support and Livia Medical, all of which combined with a fantastic nutritional program that's easy to follow and helps you lose the weight to feel and look your best, you guys. It's no wonder why Livia has been named gold 4 years running. Congrats to them. As a brand ambassador, I'm so honored to have been a part of Livia and have them a part of my weight loss journey story. Find out why Livia was voted best weight loss center here in Minnesota 4 years in a row by joining Livia's plan today, and you can get your first 8 weeks absolutely free. Plus, Livia Medical offers weight loss trusted medications for accelerated results. Visit livia.com, that's livea.com, or call 855-GO-LIVIA. Choose the trusted leader serving our communities here in Minnesota for 15 years. Livia works, you guys. Let's hear it for gold. All right, we're back. We're going through the Central Division teams, listing off where we think they will finish heading into the 24-25 season. So far, Kirsten and I are in agreement that it's probably the Utah Hockey Club finishing last, followed by the Chicago Blackhawks. Then it gets a little jumbly. Kirsten thinks that the Winnipeg Jets are going to finish sixth. I think maybe it's the St. Louis Blues, but then she says the Blues will finish fifth. And I say the Jets or Wild will finish fifth. And then fourth for Kirsten is the Wild. For me, it's the Jets or the Wild. Right? Did I recap that well?
Yes, but even I got confused.
Yeah. We'll break
but
it
I
all
got
down.
what you said because I lived it.
We lived it. We were there. Hopefully you guys were there too. But now that brings us to our top three in the Central Division, the remaining teams: Colorado Avalanche, Nashville Predators, and your Dallas Stars. Kirsten, who's coming in at number three?
Hot take, Colorado.
Okay. I don't know if that's as hot of a take as it used to be. Like last year.
Yeah, fair.
Right? But I would agree. Why Colorado?
I think, especially last season, we didn't see as strong of a Colorado team as we've been accustomed to. Not saying that they're going to fall off the map. That's one of my favorite expressions today, and I need to stop. So if I say that one more time, somebody please. Oof. No, I just think maybe we've seen Colorado peak at its point. I still think that they're going to be good, but like I said, they're not like the mighty Colorado that everyone was scared to face 2 years ago.
And they're kind of hitting that age point, right? Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, they're kind of on the older end of the scale. They signed Calvin DeHaan for defense. He's older. They got Josh Manson back there, same as Girardi. Like you have these veteran pieces where any team would be thrilled to have them. Don't get me wrong. And they are very skilled elders, if you will. But yeah, you're right. I think they're not as intimidating as they used to be, right? That's not this big, bad Colorado team. So I would agree. I would stick them in at number three.
I think the biggest threat you have on Colorado is Cale Makar. He's the jack of all trades. I would say he's the biggest threat.
How do you think Casey Middlestat is going to continue to fit in? I think he's a big piece to that team, which is so funny to me because, looking back at Buffalo, and there's always been a little bit of scrutiny around Casey Middlestat. He was this really good high school hockey player. He did okay collegiately as well at the University of Minnesota, but then he struggled, right? And he's a young kid, a smaller kid. We all can go back to that painful looking pull-up photo that he had at the draft combine. But I do think that they're going to rely on him as that number two center. So that's got to come with a lot of pressure because Colorado does always want to be in that hunt. So I'm thinking he's kind of the pivotal piece in Colorado.
It's probably a lot of pressure on him, but also, yes, I think he struggled more in Buffalo than what the expectations were. Expectations for him were very high, but when he was, final season in Buffalo, really picked up the pace, and then they traded him. I think Colorado's a fresh start for him. I think he has a better surrounding cast in Colorado. So I think he's finally getting to the point maybe where he's getting a little more comfortable and can ease into his skill set. Because also, unfortunately, Buffalo's never really been a great spot for young talent to really thrive.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I like Colorado
that's fair.
for him.
He had 10 points and 18 games with the Avs last year, right? And that included 4 goals. So I think playing with Mikko Rantanen, which is what I anticipate probably to be, will be good for him. Um, and it'll be nice to see him come into his own and yeah, just kind of grow in the role there. I do my only caution of putting Colorado at 3 is we do this every year, Kirsten, you and myself, every year.
Hmm.
I think literally go back for the past 2 seasons in our preseason predicts, and we've always put Nashville high, and they
I
always
know.
disappoint us, right? Like Colorado last year, I think they finished third, right? Let me double check on this. Yep, Colorado finished third in the division last year, 50, 25, and 7. Winnipeg and Dallas finishing ahead of them. Um, so having Nashville jump up that high to number 2 after they were what, just ahead? Yeah, let me see. Fourth. They were fourth last year.
Hmm.
I'm so concerned with that because we always put so much stock in Barry Trotz now as the general manager now
I
and
love
on
Barry
all the moves.
Trotz.
I do too. Are they number 2? Are they ready for that?
I think they're number two, but I will say I have a little bit of hesitancy, which, normally the last 2 seasons, I'm like, yes, Nashville, they've got the cast, they've got this, they're going to confidently be up here. This year, I still believe in them. I'm not as confident. The only hesitation, I loved the offseason that they had. They made
Yeah.
some big splashes this offseason. You get Brady Shea, you get Steven Stamkos, and then you get Marcia Show. Am I saying his last name
I
right?
love his last name, Jonathan Marchessault.
Yeah,
That's what
his
I'm always
last name always
confident in.
throws me off because I feel like I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
Lots of
mouthful, but it's kind of fun.
lots of shushes.
Yeah.
Um, Big splash with the signings. So I think when you look at them on paper, you see who they have. You still got a Roman Yossi, you see Saros, you've still got a Philip Forsberg. They
Mhm.
have the talent, they have the scoring. My only concern is can they all work together or are there too many big personalities to where that could work against them?
That's a really good point. Like a lot of individual talent within that. Now, hockey players obviously always so good at putting that aside, especially your Ryan O'Reillys, near Gustav Nyquist too, who's also on the team. You're right. It's hard to look at this team on paper and say there's no way they don't finish 1 or 2 in the Central,
Hmm.
right? But again, the same thing. They've had a very strong roster on paper the past years. You had Ryan
Hmm.
McDonough, who now obviously resigns with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Um, but I just they burned me too many times. That's literally
Yeah.
the only reason. Like all my logic says this makes sense. This team makes sense as being one of the best in the Central. But then there's the part of me like, yeah, well, you said that the past 2 years and they burned
Hmm.
you. And I'm like, I know. But you're right. I mean, I do. I feel compare that with any team except my number one Dallas Stars, and they're the best.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
should we get
If
to that?
we're wrong, that's Nashville's fault, not ours. They should have been
If we're
better. If
wrong,
we're wrong, they
yeah.
should have just been better.
I mean, this is true. That just leaves one team as both of our number ones in the Central. Um,
I needed to
the,
make that face because it was really appropriate for how I
for your
feel.
bean water.
My bean, literally, it's bean water. This is the grossest coffee I've ever had.
Um, that will leave the Dallas Stars as both our number ones in the Central this year.
Hmm.
Tell me more.
They're
I could go
good.
on for days. They're
They're
so
good.
good.
Do I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup? No, I don't.
What
But they're
holds you
good.
back from thinking that? Aside, I feel like you're a logical person, so you're putting aside your own disdain for them. But what think holds them back from being a Stanley Cup champion team?
Part of it, honestly, is just intuition. Like, part of it's not really like, I don't have a solid reason for why they won't. I just think, especially when you take a look at the Eastern Conference, which I know next week we'll probably get into,
Yeah.
there's better teams.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But I think the reason they will is because you have Jamie Benn, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, Tyler Seguin, Jake Ottinger, Miro Heiskanen, um, who's the young kid too that I'm Wyatt Johnston. Matt Dumba might have a resurgence of a season.
I think that's
Um,
unlikely. Respectfully, unlikely.
maybe you also got they brought in Lubishkin, right? That guy. They made some moves too,
They've
and I
got
just like
talent.
them.
I'm not denying that. They've got talent.
Yeah, they they're gonna be good. They're gonna be pretty good.
I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on Dallas is where I'm at.
I'll do
I
enough. I'll
feel
do
like
it for
we've
both
said
of
enough
us. I
about
think we'll do it for both of
Dallas.
us. They're gonna win the Stanley Cup this year.
Okay.
I mean, come on. Like you again, we talked about the Preds looking good on paper. That team just looks so good on paper. And I'm sad
hmm
that they lost to the Edmonton Oilers.
Edmonton, baby. McJesus is going to have a resurgence this year. It's
Mm.
going to be his reputation era, revenge tour. He's coming back.
Oof. I don't know. I don't know.
Him, Leon, chip on their shoulder all season long.
Talk about needing to be better. You need to be better.
Yeah,
Fair
you
enough.
did, but they're coming back.
We are pretty in line with our top three though, then.
I don't
Number
think we've
one.
ever agreed so much before.
No, because usually I'll even counter just to stir up the conversation, but it's hard to do that. With I think the Central is, you're right, kind of set. You're muddled in the middle. So I
hmm
think it's going to be another season like we saw last year, like we used to see in the Northwest Division, which bring that back. That was such a great division. But where it was always coming down to those final couple games. I think this season, again, it is going to be a race to the finish for that final 1 or 2 points between the Jets, Blues, and the Wild. Those are the three
hmm
wild card teams, I think, that will be vying for that. I'd be curious. I am interested to see if Chicago does bump up and if Utah does anything. They're just boring to me. It's just a boring. They were boring to me in Arizona. I'm excited for their movement. It's the team as it's built is just kind of a boring team to me.
And I have a big bone to pick. It's not hard to come up with a nickname. You do not need to spend an entire season known as the hockey club. Pick a name. You already, I feel, have an idea of what your front runner is. Maybe, sure, I get maybe you don't have enough time for all of the branding, but also are you're just branding as the hockey club. So regardless, I just don't see the point. Like, pick a name. Pick a name.
Don't
It's
mind. I
stupid to
don't
be
mind.
known as the hockey club. It's dumb.
I don't mind it.
I hate it. Pick a name.
I mean, just call them Utah, the Utes, the Utahians.
Pick a name.
Tell that to the PWHL, who will not be making their name selection now until September. So, with the season starting in October,
And I
good time
heard
to get that merch
December.
done.
I
You heard
heard
December
December.
now?
hmm
That is asinine.
Pick a name. Like, even with PWHL, I get it. It's a new league. You're getting a feel for it. But also, pushing back the name announcement, I feel they know what their names are. Just let us know what you decided.
They try to be like too secret. And then sometimes I think for the PWHL, in direct relation to them, nothing to do with Utah, I feel like they're too sensitive to what the fans want. Like you're not going to make every fan happy. And I think that they're trying to do that. And it's like, that's just silly when it comes to this situation, right? For the name situation, like you're never going to have 100% of the fans on the same page for this. I frankly think you should have just stuck with the names that they had through PHF, especially in relation to Minnesota, in relation to Boston, right? Like those were names that had been present with those organizations forever. Like I think there are some of them that it's a no-brainer. Like the Whitecaps made a lot of sense. Like yes, you want to make your mark at it, but you can change the color scheme, fine. Like keep it that purple, but the Whitecaps make sense. I still think the Purple Rain now makes even more sense,
It
but
does.
you could have there's just the drama. It's just you're creating more drama than necessary.
And I'm just going to say this quick. We're going to keep it where it is. You say they're sensitive to giving the fans what they want. They've already upset the fans in
Yeah,
Minnesota
say it.
and not
Say
done
it.
what they
There it is.
wanted. So
There it
I'm
is.
just going to say it. It is what it is.
Ding.
So why with the names are you, you know what I mean?
It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. But good luck with that. Good luck with that. Let us know what you guys think about the Central Division. Heck, let us know what you think about the Utah Hockey Club if that needs to change. We want to give one more shout out to our friends out at Wago. We had a great time doing a live podcast out at Loggers Trail last Friday from 9 to 10, talking hockey. Made some new friends, got a bunch of new people listening to Bar Down Beauties. Had a couple too many Bloody Marys, perhaps. It was a good time, though.
I had a great time. I was good. I was chilling.
I was good until, a little bit later. I was like, I haven't really eaten today. That's, not cool.
Honestly, I just had a headache later. That was it for me.
I got home, had a beer, and then went to bed pretty
The
early.
drinking didn't stop when
I just
Jesse
wanted
got
one
home.
beer. I just wanted one little beer. But yeah, it was it's a couple bloodies. It was a good time though. We had a great time.
Had
So
a great
thanks for
time.
everyone who stopped by. Again, shout out to Waggle for raising a ton of money for Special Olympics Minnesota. 5 hole-in-ones ended up happening. Not by yours truly, unfortunately. I tried. Didn't make it. Barely
Proud of
made
you
the
for
grade.
showing up at 4 a.m.
Thank you. Yes, I did a 4 a.m. bay. It was exhausting.
Mhm.
Been up a lot. It's like my kid got me up at 1 and 5 this morning.
Ick.
I'm tired. But I don't need the
Little
caffeine. I don't
Avery?
need water. No, Hudson, the oldest. He had a bad dream apparently.
Oh,
Yeah.
poor guy.
Yeah. So I do feel for him. But then he's been a little a-hole all morning. I'm like, well, sleep in, man. Like, don't get up. Like, and he heard me say that. I was like, God, you're just being a little a-hole. And he's like, I am not a little a-hole. And I was like, oh,
Did not like that.
my bad. But you're being one. So,
Just be better.
just be better. We signed him up for flag football. So I'm kind of excited to see how that
Ooh,
goes.
that'll be fun.
I think so. I think he'll really
Let out
like
some
it.
of that energy. He's got a
Such
lot of it.
competitor. Like I watched him like line up. Like he's got a quarterback stance. He looks like a top tier athlete. I'm not even gonna lie. Like
It's because he
just
has
his
the
little,
hair.
he has the hair. It's the hair. And then he has girls that just adore him too. I've already seen
It's
him.
the hair.
Hey Hudson, like who's that? He's like, I don't know. He just doesn't even care either.
It's because of the
He
hair.
gets all nervous. So good. So good. All right. Well, Kirsten, anything else? Final words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Have a great week, everybody. I'll
Mhm.
be better next week.
I think this was pretty good.
It was real. You know what? It was
better.
really good. But I think slowly, week by week, I'm starting to get out of off-season mode back into the
Mm.
grind, which honestly, it's a little refreshing. Like I've had my time off, I've recalibrated. Now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start doing work again, putting the work in.
You know what? And this is maybe why I love covering hockey. It's yes, the summers are great, but our summers off are great, and I love hockey in general as a sport. But it follows the same schedule as like your back to school schedule,
Mhm.
right? So it's like September to me is always like, okay, we're back at it, let's go. And it
Mhm.
realigns with that. So it's like something that you totally grew up doing. You got to enjoy your summertime off with a little bit of work here and there. Like I do. I think maybe that's why I love covering it because it just goes back to what my brain is already trained and programmed to see as like the start of work, right?
Mhm. And I loved back to school as a kid.
Yeah, same. Like you're
A
ready. Yeah,
fresh
like
start, like the new year, like I
Mhm.
love something about a fresh start, clean slate. That's how I feel heading into this year. So give me like 2 more weeks. I'll be ready.
Yeah. Like you had your fun in the summer, but now I'm ready to like go
I'm
back and
ready
be
to
a
see
little
my
bit more
friends again.
serious. And you get to see your friends again.
Mhm.
Yes. Love it. All right, guys. As always, shout out to Talk North, Grainbelt, Royal Credit Union, Livia, and Jim Beam, as well as New Voice Studios. Any needs you have for social media marketing or video, let New Voice Studios know. That's a shameless plug.
Oh, I was about to say it. I was about to say it.
We will catch you guys next week. Rate, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Have a good one.